Yeah. You can kind of be a specialist if you're a striker. A striker, like, there's a few guys that can pull it off if they're really strong and they have good takedown defense. Like Pereira is the best example, right? 2-division world champion kickboxer, comes over, dominates, becomes a 2-division UFC champion as a striker because every fight starts standing up. But if you don't know how to strike, every fight starts standing up. So the beginning of the fight is always something you're not good at. And if you're getting tagged at the very beginning of the fight and now you're in desperation mode, and all this person has to do, it's an enormous space they're fighting in, the octagon. And the cage of the octagon actually makes it easier to get up if someone takes you down. So there's a lot of elements that wouldn't even exist if you had a flat surface with no walls. So it's easier to defend. It's easier to move around because it's an enormous surface. So you're now chasing this person, and you might have already gotten a concussion. You might have already been rocked. So you're already like a little out of it, and now you're like desperado mode. It's just a bad place to be. Like, you have to have world-class striking to compete at a world-class level in MMA at this point.
Yeah.
You have to have something. At the very least, you have to be really good defensively, really good. But then you're just going to get picked apart on the feet. Your legs are going to get kicked. You're going to get brutalized. Yeah, you have to be a really good striker. And Ryan is one of those guys that's a specialist. And, you know, he tapped a lot. I mean, tapped BJ Penn in like 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. He's tapped a lot of guys. When he gets a hold of you, you're in this complex web of transitions and techniques that if you're just a regular MMA fighter who trains jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, you're not going to know what he's doing.
Yeah. He's a brilliant guy. He trained at our school in New York, I think, from 2010, 2012, that range. And it was so interesting watching him and Marcelo. Because Ryan had a huge amount of humility relative to Marcelo. And he wanted to train with him. And Marcelo was so curious about Ryan's game. But Marcelo never studied anyone's game. A core principle of Marcelo is if you study my game, you enter my game, and no one will be better at my game than me. And so when in competition, guys would be studying tape of everybody. He would never study anyone's tape, never study anyone's fights, but he'd watch them the fight before they went against him, and he'd pick up on some kind of elemental read. He has this he's what I call a low rep learner. His ability to learn from a single repetition is just unbelievable. And it was really interesting watching him and Ryan, because Ryan just came and visited me in my home a month ago, and we were talking about how formative those training experiences with Marcelo were, and it was like one way that Ryan described it is that he had this like layers of traps 7 steps in, but Marcelo had this deep understanding upstream of that, and it was like watching Marcelo put himself like right next to the fire, like right next to Ryan's game. He wanted to learn the edges of Ryan's game, but never enter it, and his ability to play right at the threshold of all of Ryan's traps, which he could pull almost everyone else into, in just pure grappling, right? But not just his ability to learn. It felt like a cat putting its paw right up against the edge of a fire and just like learning about what heat was and deconstructing it, but then not ever getting into the heat, you know. And you'd watch Ryan roll anyone else, he could just pull them into the fire, into the spider web.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, Marcelo has a really incredibly deep, almost simian physical intelligence, and his ability to learn from a single rep is unique in my observation.
That's amazing. Ryan has had a ton of surgeries, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, man, that dude has had such bad luck. Yeah.
What is wrong with him? What's going on?
Some shit tons of stuff with his knee, with his hip. I think he's starting to come. I think his shoulder something now. Oh, he's still, he's had
like 9.
I think
surgeries.
23. I think it was 23. I think he said 23 surgeries. Dude has got, and the bad one happened with someone just falling on him in training.
What was that?
I don't know. That was a hip.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I haven't seen.
What did he get done to his hip?
Ask him. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's had a lot of surgeries.
Someone just fell on him. So was he training with someone else and someone else fell
on him?
No,
he was training with somebody, and he was taking it easy on them in a transition, trying to not hurt them, and then they just collapsed on him, on his hip in a certain way, as he described it.
Oy.
Yeah, brutal.
When you were training, did you do any weightlifting just to sort of supplement it to keep your joints strong and your...
Yeah. I did a lot of... I tended to do weightlifting that was consistent with the movement patterns of the arts that I was training in. So I would do a lot of biking, lower body strength, and then I would do... I think if I did it now, I would do much more weightlifting. But when I was rolling usually twice a week, 6 days a week, and I would do cardio work in addition, and then some resistance work. But I wasn't like I'm doing a lot of work with the Boston Celtics now, and I'm seeing how they're for the last few years, and I see how brilliant their sports science team and their physical trainers are, and like I don't think that when I was training jiu-jitsu, I was at the level of, for example, the Boston Celtics in the resistance training that I was doing to supplement it. Yeah, and Marcelo didn't do weight training, and that was part of it. When I was training with him, we were like I was just
He didn't weight train at all.
No.
How did he get
Not at
those
all.
legs?
He just rolls, man. He was biking. He was into those bikes without brakes. We were biking all over New York.
Bikes without brakes.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What are they called?
Fixies?
Yeah.
What is that?
Fixed wheel?
Yeah, fixed wheel. He just
What does that mean?
It's just got
no brakes.
there's no
How
brakes.
do you
all over
slow
New York.
down?
You go slow.
You got to slow. You put your hand, your foot on the edge of the wheel.
What?
Fixed wheel biking. I mean, he loved fixed wheel around New York, and I was biking. Then I switched over.
Why would you ever get on a bike with no brakes?
It's
You control it. You're braking. I'll show you videos.
Show me.
people love it, but man, in New York,
What
it's
is
quite
this?
something. I mean, in New York, when you're going down a hill in New York City and in traffic, there's some adventures.
You're going down a hill. How are you fucking slowing down?
You don't go fast.
Oh,
Oh,
we
what?
were going fast.
I mean, you got to see a high. This isn't going to be a good video.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. This is something only white people would figure out. Let's have a bike with no brakes.
The dumber thing was what I did after this, which is that when I fell in love with surfing, I was one-wheeling all over New York.
Oh, 5 ways to stop on a fixie. How about don't get a fixie? Get
get a
brakes,
fixie.
you fucking idiot. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Why wouldn't you have brakes? Why wouldn't you have an option to control the bike better?
The people that ride these, they'd argue they control it probably better.
Yeah, look at
than
all the
with
white
brakes.
people. All
Well,
white people.
I mean,
Ridiculous white people that would be doing backflips with skateboards.
This is a big New York thing, though.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
They like suffering over there. That's why they all live jammed on top of each
I
other.
can't find a good video.
That's so stupid. There's no good videos on that. That's a stupid thing.
There's
Get
a movie I've seen. That's why I know about
brakes, you fucking freaks.
My last 2 years living in New York, I had fallen so in love with surfing, and I knew ocean arts were my next chapter, and I was so heartbroken not to be able to do it every day. So I got a one-wheel. It was like the first generation, the one-wheel electronic skateboards with one. big
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah,
It
we
was
have
like
one of those.
Just came out, first generation, old, and I was just like thousands of miles biking, one-wheeling all over New York, and then, but it was the early one. If you pushed past the pushback, it had this pushback thing which would slow you down, but you could push past it and go faster. But if you pushed past the final pushback, it just bottomed out. Wham!
Ooh.
And he just went like 23, 24 miles. It was like whack, right? Over taxi cabs, under
This is,
taxi cabs,
it's like
through
when you were a
taxi
kid.
cabs, everything.
The one wheel's like when you were a kid, or sorry, the fixie. It's like you just skid. Remember? You
Oh,
skid.
so
You just
there is
slam on.
brakes,
Yeah, you
like a
slam on.
kid.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way to describe it. I wasn't thinking of it that way. But
okay. So you can brake.
you can also reverse, which you can't do